for me. And we see the principles.
Oh, there they are. The purpose of the mastermind is to learn leadership, build teams, and create sources of income together.
Oh, Linda, you're muted.
Sorry, I just realised. We are here to inspire and challenge each other to reach and exceed goals.
Each member is committed to their own success, as well as the success of every member of the group.
We are committed to meeting in person or virtually for 1 hour every week.
We are present. There is no multitasking or distractions during meetings.
We are collaborative and we listen without interrupting, lecturing, or judging.
We celebrate each other's successes without jealousy.
We are honest and participate by giving thoughtful feedback.
We are open and listen to different perspectives without being defensive or offering excuses.
We trust fellow members enough to share fully.
We are focused, but we also think it's important to have fun during meetings.
We are real and authentic. This is a no BS zone.
We allow ourselves to become completely aligned with each other and the high forces: one mind, one soul, one love.
Noble Goldman International is a conscious, aware, and engaged global community of abundance and freedom creators.
Our mission is to create 1 million millionaires who are free from the time for money paradigm. We focus on creating multiple streams of income through masterminding, team building, and effective utilization of the internet-based platforms.
The mastermind becomes an opportunity for self-mastery, where the self-transcendent shift from the me to the we to the us occurs. As congruence and engagement increases, the world's consciousness is then raised one meaningful and inspired relationship at a time.
Thank you. So carrying on a little bit, I guess, from last week, we will be delving, I guess, more into relationships as we keep going, but we're only going on the free Noble Goldman membership for this year. And then from the 5th of January, Gary's launching in the Vault. So in order to access his incredible insights and have conversations with him, you'll need to be in the Vault. So some of us already are. Joe's got his amazing Reiki sessions in there, and I did that on Monday with him, and it was amazing. So there's lots of value in there. So the relationship starts with us. Who are we? And there's been some interesting conversations about that with the book that I'm reading with Carly, The Abundance Code. There's a whole chapter on how we see ourselves and how we're influenced by other people, and whether we should be influenced by other people, and comparison and competition, and how that affects who we are and how we're coming up to show up. So it was a bit vague. So what I had for Gary. So we can go exploring a little bit into that, I guess. So what have you got, Gary?
Yeah, see, I before you all came on, I told V, except Linda was here, I said that I am V's information slave. So she just pushes a button and I start talking. So when I first started developing this program that I developed called Creating Incredible Relationships, one of the things that I began with was the relationship with self. Because if that is fluid, if that's not solid, if that's not grounded, we have a tremendous seduction into finding our identity or our worth in someone else's pleasure or approval or meeting their needs, becomes part and parcel of what builds our identity. And I had this wonderful client that I worked with not very long ago, and her identity was all orbiting around how well she promoted her husband's business, how much she worked on his social media, and all these things that would support his success. And as I watched the relationship over a year, her sense of self just began to drop further and further and further and further down to where her depression was palatable. And she began to ask for coaching around this. And it's very delicate because you don't ever want to go into a marriage and say, you know, you're giving away all your power to this guy. There's nothing left of you. What are you doing? So very judiciously, I began to explain to her about this whole process of her having to find her path, and the passion that was the business for her husband wasn't her passion. And so we began this very gentle journey into what is your passion? What are you beginning to discover about what makes your heart sing? Who are you? What are your values? And diving deeper into what's going to actually make her happy. The point of all that was that she had lost her sense of self through the constant focus on someone else's need of her. And that ended up being the very thing that made her pull away from him. And so they're on the verge of divorce right now because she has just dropped down to such a low point of her own self-worth because she gave so much of herself away. So we start to look at then, what is this process of being in relationship? I'm talking more kind of romantic relationship, but this happens in companies, it happens in our family of origin, it happens throughout, is that when we sacrifice and sacrifice and sacrifice our sense of self, or what our dreams are for someone else's dreams to be potentially realized, we lose ourselves and eventually create what I call a negative anchor to that other person. At this point now, she's like, don't touch me, don't talk to me, I don't want to be around you, to the man that she sacrificed most of the last couple of years for, because she's so resentful. And he keeps asking and wanting her to play that same role. And she's changed and she won't play it anymore. So the friction between the two became really big, still is. The bottom line is that people fall in love with you, not with what you could do for them, but they fall in love with you, that individual character that was very much present, a stronger sense of identity when they met. And then as the relationship moved on and she began to have these ideas about what she needed to do to actually help her husband, she gave away all of herself. And that is the very thing that will destroy a relationship. So those of you, well, first I'd like to see a show of hands of who's in a relationship right now. Like who's got someone with you that, you know, you're kind of hanging out with and it's all good. And I mean, can you guys relate to what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. About giving away parts of yourself to the point to where it's just a little bit challenging for you. And sometimes you create some negative anchors towards the other person because we have resentments that sometimes are long standing that we don't ever resolve. And who's been in a relationship that's no longer in a relationship and can relate to what I'm saying? Anybody?
Yep.
So, I mean, I want to know, because I would love this to be more interactive, what did you do to pull yourself out of that sort of sacrificial lamb state where you are like to the point to where you've built up so much resentment that you don't even want to hang out with the person? V, for some reason, I want to move towards you. What did you do to move out of those kind of dynamics in your past relationships?
Oh my God, Gary, the story you just shared just has given me this huge aha moment, because for me, my love kind of language is about doing. It's about, you know, action. So I do tend to do things for people before, and that's just what I, you know, my character, and I'm thinking that's what I should be doing. But so that's actually, I'm doing that before I even know the love is there. And so I get to the point in my relationship where I think I'm evolving, therefore I need to get out. But it's not that I actually have been evolving that much. It's just that I'm sick of being the doormat. So yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. We generally do what our deep love strategy is.
Mm.
You know, we generally give what we think they'll want, because it's a transference of our own sense of how we receive love. And so obviously you probably would love a partner that would do stuff for you and do it and have it be repeated over and over and over again. True or false?
True.
So you give how you read deep love. Like for me, I used to tell people I'm very high maintenance. They have to do a lot for me. They have to tell me they love me all the time, and they have to touch me incessantly. But of course, that can't be. So I guess my deep love strategy, how I really know that someone really loves me, is by a touch. I can tell everything by a touch. If I don't get that, if they can tell me they love me all day long, they can clean the house and iron my shirts and do the laundry and do all that all day long, and it won't mean anything to me. But if they touch me, then I kind of get it. So yeah. Linda, what's happened for you? Do you have a similar kind of experience?
I do, and I was nodding my head when you were just talking about all that, because touch to me is the most important thing. Touch. I don't need flowers. I don't need chocolates. I don't need to go to fancy restaurants, or I don't need to be told that I'm loved all day, every day, although being told it occasionally is nice. But it's the touch thing. It's just that walking past that person and then reaching out just to brush their hand against yours, or, you know, just as they walk behind the couch that you're sitting on to go to wherever, and they just gently touch your head or whatever. That to me is huge. That just is all encompassing for me, and so simple. Doesn't cost money. It's just
you're very low maintenance, Linda.
Love. Pardon?
You're very low maintenance.
Well, interesting. I used to be extremely high maintenance, apparently, according to my first husband. But no, it's a very simple, easy thing, and it's and I hope to find that for the rest of my life.
I definitely hold that as a distinct possibility for you. Stanley, did you relate to anything that I said, my friend?
Oh, definitely. But I'm not sure what the question was. I got distracted with kids for a second.
That's okay. I was asking, can you relate to this process of giving so much of yourself away that you sort of lose who you were, and therefore start to build up a negative association to your partner? Really not, man.
Relate to that, no.
Good.
Probably in other areas, but not like marriage relationship.
Okay. Sweet. Okay, great. And Darla, can you relate to anything that I've said around that?
Actually,
Nice to
I can
meet
really.
you.
Nice to meet you too. I've heard a lot about you. Joe's really shared a lot about you. And the recent relationship is Joe and myself. So this is interesting because you actually have a couple on the panel.
Yay.
Brand new couple. So in regards to past, I can honestly say that learning the experiences through realizing no matter how much time I gave of myself, if it wasn't being reciprocated, I had to learn that those were lessons, that was an experience for me to actually learn and develop and see what it was that I really needed within anyways. So it really brought me to a place where I was repeating myself constantly. And what was I repeating? I needed encouragement. I give away encouragement all day long. And because it's something I give, it's something that needs to be replenished. So because of that, I need somebody that is going to be there that wants to encourage me. And I had somebody in my past that told me that I was asking too much. I didn't need to be on a pedestal because I was too strong anyways. And that wasn't the truth. That wasn't my truth. I would really needed someone that was building me. I was giving that away because I needed it so much. So I was constantly filling that space because that was that interaction like you stated. So I could really speak into that because that's the truth. What I gave away was what I needed most. And then I also realized that quality time for me is very, very essential. I need that quality time.
Well, I can't
So-
think of a better man to be with than our buddy Joe.
I'm very blessed. I'm very, very
Yeah.
blessed.
He's a good man. That just brought up something for me that I just wanted to speak to for just a minute, is that this whole process of us having what I'll call secret contracts, not being clear about what we actually need from the other person. And when we have a stronger sense of self, it's much easier to ask what you need on that day or that moment. And when you're able to say, I've had couples, I've given couples this particular exercise that for a week, they sit in the morning and they go, and one of the partners would say, this is something that I really want for myself today. And this is something that I'm going to really focus on for myself today. Or if they need something from the other person, they'll say, this is something that I would love to receive from you today, if you have the bandwidth to give it. And you can give it freely. Not it's a task for you, but if you can give it freely, this is something that would really nurture me today because I have this particular need today. And when couples began to identify what their soul need is for that day, and they're super transparent about it, and they ask permission, and they ask whether their partner has a bandwidth or not, then that starts to become a place where people can actually have a safe psychologically safe space to get their needs met in a way that supports them and supports their partner as well. And your partner may say, you're not going to be able to get that from me today because I got about that much bandwidth. And the dog looks like real unconditional love for you for today because I don't think I can do it. You got to go, thank you for your honesty. Thank God I have someone who tells me the truth that won't resent me for giving me what I've asked for. You with me? That would be an awesome thing for couples to do. I think it becomes so important that when you have needs, you're transparent about it. When you have a limitation to your own bandwidth, you're transparent about it. And that you don't extend beyond what you feel you're capable of giving. And you'll notice that I've extended beyond what I'm capable of giving when your energy starts to drop. Like I've been working since 8:30 this morning, had an hour break for dinner, but my energy is great because I didn't give out more than what I know that I can give. And I have 2 more clients after we complete tonight. So I feel great. My energy is really good because I'm able, when I get fed by being able to help people, then my energy bumps up some. So this is where I think each one of us have to understand where our energy drains are and where we fill up from. And then do more of what we fill up from rather than more of what drains our energy. And so that is one of the processes of your own self-introspection, of knowing what feeds you and what depletes you. The Stanford University Advisory Council on Leadership was asked, what is a number one principle of all leadership development? And for each one of us to be in a relationship takes leadership, takes our self-leadership. And the main thing that they all unanimously voted on was self-awareness. Being in a relationship is really about the art of self-awareness as well. That we know what feeds us, we know what depletes us, we know what we stand for, and we know or have some clarity about what our mission is. And if we don't have that, then it becomes vitally important for us to start looking at how do we establish that? Because that's what guides how we engage with other people, is of course our relationship to ourselves. What is elevating us, what fills our heart and what depletes it, what feeds us and what makes us feel like we are completely, what's the word? Starving in the desert. Once we understand that, we can truly begin to start navigating our way, our truth telling so much better. So thanks for that, Darla. Prati,
I love how you actually went there, Gary, and how deep that actually took you from what I was able to say. I actually teach the art of learning self-love.
Oh,
I
sweet.
wouldn't be where I am right now in my life if it wasn't for the fact that I began working on the inner work. The inner work is the
Good.
most important work. You have to start there. You
I
can't
know.
find it anywhere else.
I think it's really powerful to look in the mirror and actually like what you see. Like, I kind of like that guy. It is a really different space than looking at yourself in the mirror and thinking, maybe not so much. It's good. So thank you for doing that work. That's lovely. I can see you and Joe just doing some seminars together, and yeah, that'd be sweet, wouldn't it? That'd be good.
It's going to really be amazing what he and I are going to be able to do.
Oh yeah, sounds awesome. And just so we all know this, but I'm going to just restate it because I care for you guys. There's 3 phases to relationships. The puppy dog phase, where you just cannot get enough of them. Then the power struggle phase, where it's I wish they would wash their feet more and clip their toenails because it's disgusting to me, that phase. And then it's the unconditional love phase. If you can get through the power struggle phase, which most couples get stuck in and stay there for a very long time because they don't have the tools, you guys are going to have fabulous communication tools, but move through that one rather quickly, because on the other side of it is where the bliss is. Sweet. Prati, do you have anything you want to add to this, or anything from your own experience? Can you relate to the things that we're talking about, or do you want to share anything?
Yeah, I mean, I do relate to it, but my love language is also a doer. So if it doesn't mean anything to me, if with words, I think, in fact, the more words you add, it creates more frustration, because it keeps telling me that you need way too many words to try to explain yourself, because you've definitely done something wrong. So I'm just a doer language, and I also do. I just express by doing as well, by cooking nutritious meal or looking after my family, and I expect in doing as well. That just makes me, that tells me that, okay, they mean it. And words kind of pull them away from me. And yeah, touch and buying gifts and all, that's fine. I mean, it doesn't really annoy me, but words do. The more words you'll use, it would start meaning less and less. but yeah, and I did have that experience at the same time. That I was with someone extremely opposite, who used more words consistently. And I think I expressed it, like you said, we had chat when I would say like, okay, let's do like every morning 10 minutes, we'll sit for a cup of tea together. We will make sure we spend that time. We don't rush for breakfast to rush to work. Like we just get that done at least on weekends. And then we talk about like, you know, what we should do for each other during the week or something like that. And I think that it depends if the person wants to be a part of it. If they still think that their love language is the only love language, then it gets difficult, because he thought like words are enough. So we never found a path to agree to. So it didn't work. So I mean, we tried, but it didn't work. Even the chats didn't work, because we went back or fell back to the same space.
It's always very interesting when people become very rigid in how they receive love and will not actually work with their partners to express it outside their comfort zone in a way their partners can read it. So yeah, it becomes really, really difficult. My one idea around that is we all have to be quite cautious about how another person expresses their love, because at least at first, they may express their love in the only way that they know how. They become offended often because when you say that's not enough, it taps right into their I'm not enough stuff and makes them feel like they're being criticized in the most subtle way. When you say, you know, what will work for me is X, Y, and Z, and words are not going to work for me. What a person will do, because most of us, you know, based upon our egos, will take everything personally, become offended by that, kind of put their heels in the ground and say, I'm not changing, this should be enough. And I have a suspicion that maybe what your ex did, and he probably had a sense of really not being enough. Am I hallucinating, Prati, or is that close to the mark of what you experienced with
No,
him?
you're close to the mark.
Yeah. So, you know, this is where, you know, the whole self-leadership piece comes in, because when two people take responsibility, and this is one of the core premises of a healthy relationship, is when two people take responsibility for their own emotional states. Like, this is what I'm making up about this, but this is me. This is from the filters of my collective experience, that I've developed these filters through my own classical conditioning. And this is how I'm reading it. I'm having these emotional states because this is what, through the filters of my experience, my reptilian brain's being triggered off, my cortisol and adrenaline's being dumped, and I'm feeling these emotions, forgetting, of course, just because we feel it, we think it's reality. It's not reality. It's simply our classical conditioning that forms these sort of automatic responses chemically, and then we start feeling anger or resentment or whatever else it is, forgetting that we're the manufacturer of that emotional state. So this is where this whole premise in relationships come from, of extreme ownership. It's like, I'm totally pissed off right now. And I'm like, okay, great. I mean, I'll say this, I'm completely pissed off right now. My heart's racing. I'm like, I feel hot. I'm like angry as all get out. And it's me doing it. That's the pisser of it, you know. It's like, it's me. I'm doing this. I'm interpreting it in a certain way. I'm associating this event and this action to other meanings from my past and my collective experience. It may have nothing to do with what's happening right now. This person that I'm dealing with may be feeling completely opposite. And here I am freaking out and squirming like a snake under a tire wheel because of my associations and my hallucination of what I think is happening, but it's not real. I tell you, when I finally realized that, I was like, damn, why can't someone just be to blame for a while? You know, I have to own this one. I want someone to blame for how I feel, but it's not the truth. And when you get to the place to where you actually say to yourself, I'm running a pattern. It's my pattern. I'm responsible and I'm accountable for this pattern. I'm going to have to just be pissed off for a while until I can wind myself down, detach from my partner and go, it's not you, but I just need some space because I can't sort out what I'm feeling right now because I'm in the emotion too much. And then you think about it, you evaluate it, you come back, you trace back the pattern of what you're feeling, first of all, and where that tracks to, and what just got fired off in your nervous system by what they said or did. And then you start taking responsibility for yourself, and you can go back to them and say, look, this is what's happening for me. What I really want to know is the intention, why you said or did what you said or did, and what emotion drove that particular experience for you, because I've made up something that I'm certain is my hallucination, and I need to know what's happening inside of you. So what is triggered in you? And then now that's a conversation where two people that make a commitment to self-evolve can actually help each other. That's, in my opinion, the purpose of relationship is not to kowtow to one another and say, oh, you're right, honey, I love you no matter what, although they're raging crazy person at that moment. And you just like bend like a bamboo stake in the wind, and you're just like, oh, you're so right, darling. Yes, I was wrong. I so apologize for my evilness. No, you're going to end up resenting the holy heck out of them. So the point is, take accountability for your own emotional states. And when two people are doing that, that ends up being the platform that two people can go, wow, we really hallucinated completely different meanings. Now, let's find out what the truth is. And the truth is, I love you and I got triggered off. Thank you for being the mirror to me of something I could not see. Now that I see it clear, when it comes up again, and it will, I can get to the truth faster. Until at some point in the relationship, you can look at each other and go, wow, I'm raging and I'm pissed off. And quite frankly, I know what it is. So I'm not that pissed off anymore. And it's not you at all. And what used to take you a day to get through, you get to in 5 minutes until you don't get to it at all. See, I truly believe that the relationship journey is a warrior's journey. It is supposed to be difficult. It is supposed to reflect back to us those parts of ourselves we cannot see. Not for the other person to change like a trained poodle jumping through hoops of our expectations, but for that person, for the person who's experiencing it to actually understand, this is mine. How do I heal this misconception in myself? And then you walk hand in hand into, I'll call it heaven, together, because what you are creating then is you're creating not a world of projection and transference, but a world of accountability and self-ownership, where at the end of the day, really the only thing that exists is love between us. Everyone on this call has been wounded enough, has suffered enough at the hands of relationships, irresponsible, immature, projecting and transferring type of relationships. We've all done it. Sometimes we've been the biggest culprit in it. I know I most certainly have. And at the end of the day, where we need to land is this place of self-accountability. Is this place of I accept myself, I see where I got wounded, I'm going to love myself through it, and my partner's going to see me and hold up the light for me when I've dropped it for myself. And when two people do that for each other, it's magic, because that is the true purpose of relationships. It's not to criticize and have a trained poodle that does whatever you want them to, as you want them to, when you want them to, as many times as you want them to. That is not the purpose of relationships. The purpose of relationships is to wake up the God within each one of us. And you certainly can't be doing that, bending over backwards for the slightest whim of your partner, or they're going to lose their shit. So when we start looking at what is relationships, it is a spiritual journey. It's a spiritual path, and it takes a whole lot of guts to do it right. A whole lot. I'm pontificating, aren't I? I got all worked up on that one, didn't I? So, Joe, tell me about your journey, buddy. And do you have anything you want to add or anything you want to say from your experience?
I think I'll touch base on the initial statement of the whole bending over backwards. With my son's mother, I really learned a lot about words. Words don't mean a damn thing unless there's actions to back it up. And I really learned that I was manipulated and used and all that fun stuff. But I didn't realize it until I became broken. I had that first operation and that didn't go right. And I was 11 months without working, leaving the house, nothing. And I realized I was the one paying the bills. I was the one keeping the house clean. I was the one doing all the yard work. I was the one doing the repairs. I was the one taking care of the child. And it's like, I started to ask myself, what do you actually do? And the bitterness built, the resentment built, the anger built, and it didn't matter how much I vocalized what I was looking for, it just was not being received. And it didn't matter how badly I wanted the family aspect for my son, it was not going to happen because of what ended up becoming the toxicity of the relationship. It was a lesson, not a blessing. And I am still learning, because I am still dealing with his mother on, the raising the child aspects. And, most recently today, I was talking with Darla about getting all frustrated because one person wants to have control of the whole situation and does not want to be a team player in the matter. And it just drives me nuts, wasting time, wasting effort, fuel, all of that to provide for the child. And I'm just being held back because I'm not allowed to have the phone number. I'm not allowed to be in contact with the coach. And it definitely got frustrating. And it constantly pulls me back to that initial situation of just feeling helpless in the relationship. And I mean, we were together like nearly 3.5 years and living together and all that. Now it's like, gosh, I think it's 10 years separated, something like that. And it still hits me in the same way. And it's not as harshly, but it still hits me in the same way of like, gosh, when is this situation going to be over? When is that last layer going to be peeled? When am I finally going to be set free? And I'm still hopeful for that day to come.
Joe, can I share something with you, buddy?
Of course.
That may help. There's a book called Resurrection by an author by the name of Neville. I mentioned it before. Joe's going to go get the book right now. I can tell. Very good.
I've not started reading it yet, but I finally found it and got it in my possession.
Good. In there's a chapter by Neville who, and he says the quickest way to change anyone is to change your opinion about them. So one of the things that I would highly recommend that you do, and I literally have created miracles doing this. I had a woman that knew she was from the Black Ninjas of Japan. She was full out 100% attempting to destroy me with curses, hooking me up to radionics machines for diseases and all kinds of stuff. She was just out to have me go down. And what I did was I sat and I meditated and I visualized her form. And I imagined a light coming down into my crown chakra from the heavens, filling my body up till I felt illuminated, exiting my heart in a river into her heart until I could see her body illuminated and I could feel love for her soul, not her personality, because she was like a dark wizard practicing black magic. But when I did that, and where I only would sit until I could feel unconditional love for her soul, not her personality. When I was able to do that, I did that for 2 months solid. All the attacks stopped. All of them ceased. Nothing else worked with her but that. So what I know is exactly what Neville says. If you want someone to change, the resonant field that awakens all of us out of our dream states is unconditional soul to soul love. It's what the Course in Miracles says. Look through the eyes of the Holy Spirit, which means look at the other person through the eyes of they are the same essence as I, the same animating principle organizing the cells of their body that make up their body and animates them is the exact same substance that animates me. So there is no division between her and you, zero at the quantum level, no division, no separation, total oneness, ecstatic love flowing through time and space. That's all it is. What you're witnessing is her adaptation to loss, to pain, to fear, to absorption in the separation of the three-dimensional world. That's what you're disliking, but that's not who she is. What she has forgotten is what you need to remember. And when you remember that about her, she'll remember that about herself. So my invitation to you is bury the story, because the story is a construct of your mind and your ego. Choose to see and look through the eyes of the Holy Spirit and choose to see her as such. And then externally, well, internally, she'll feel it in time. Externally, her behaviors will start to change. I'm telling you, it's a gospel truth. It's a law like gravity here. Love is a panacea that heals all things, but it has to be at a high enough vibratory level. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it also kind of reminded me of a meditation you taught a while back when I first started coming to the call. I believe it was something like envision her or the person that you want healing with, envision them before you, and there was like a connection of energy and you can see or recognize the pains, and it was similar to what you just described, but there were some differences as well.
That's another process called perceptual positioning, which is one of the things I teach in that training that I developed. But this, what I'm telling you, super important. Excellent. Super important. And the most important thing, I know it works. I absolutely know it works, because there were points in my life during that whole thing when I was like, where she was like full barrels. I had people calling me from across the country I hadn't seen in 5 years, and I'd answer the phone. They were, Gary, someone's doing witchcraft on you. Someone's doing black magic. I'm like, how do you know that? And they were like, well, it's kind of evident, dude. Like your energy is just like dark. It was serious. I am not joking. It was stone cold serious. If I didn't have the tools I had, I probably would have physically died. That's how dark it was. So you're not having that kind of energy come at you. And if that little meditation I just gave you can heal that experience where she was so filled with hate and transference, when you could heal that, dude, you'll make miracles. So view your meditation about seeing through the eyes of the Holy Spirit as the best thing you could do for your son.
That's where a lot of the frustration I feel is coming from, because I'm trying to be able to be there so he can do the participation, but because I couldn't get him his gym shoes for the basketball practice, he was most likely sitting on the sidelines today, and I feel that I'm going to get a nice earful, because it's all going to be deflected to me because I didn't deliver. I wasn't there. And then the frustration towards her, I know, will come in, but that I'm going to have to give that meditation a try, because I would love to get that energy to fully shift and that hatred towards my side of the family to just be gone.
Well, what I'm going to say to you, Joe, is it will suck you dry unless you do what I'm telling you to do. It'll eat you up and suck you dry. So there's really no other path forward but to be in the power that your heart actually is, and then transfer that power, that focus in creating and manifesting three-dimensional change, and be relentless in it. Just be absolutely relentless, because it truly is the only way out of it. You're not ever going to change her mind, but her soul will fill your soul. And you've been attempting to resolve the problem at the same logical level, and there's no resolution there. You have to chunk up to a much higher logical level in order to resolve the problem.
I know, like the meditation I tried describing earlier, that did shift a lot. Things did change. So this new one that you're describing, I'm hopeful that it will create a whole new world for my son and, you know, everyone to live just a little bit happier. That'd be great.
Just do it daily. Just do it part of your daily routine, a spiritual practice to forgive those, not forgive, but to make one yourself with the other person who you view as a perpetrator in your life, and choose to see them as they truly are. And then that holds up the possibility for themselves to change.
Beautiful. Thank you, Gary.
You're very welcome, buddy. Does anyone have anything else they want to say? V, you look like you want to say something.
I was just going
You
to
just
check.
shifted, your body just shifted. So I just thought maybe she wants to say something.
I was just going to check if Jan had anything.
Oh, Jan, I was
Anything
coming to you
up.
too, darling.
My mind's been going gangbusters, the whole that you were talking about. And I think in my relationship, I'm trying to be all things. I seem to do everything. And I'm sort of apologetic for the things that I like to do. The advice that you've been giving, I know that is what I need to do. I will do to help me get myself back, I guess.
Value your desires, Jan, because those desires are coming from your soul, from your heart. If there's things that you feel like you need to do, but yet you're sacrificing doing them because of someone else's approval or disapproval, you will end up building such a negative association to that person over time that you'll begin to lose the love that you once had for them, because you are compromising your own happiness for someone else. And you will not, we're all extremely powerful beings, and we're all God incarnate. So if we look at this, why should we limit our creation of our joy because some other spark of God has a stronger opinion about what they want from us, making us their source of happiness? I'm like, don't make me your source of happiness, because I will globally disappoint you. But I will do my best to be as kind and loving as I possibly can, but don't make me the source of your happiness, because I don't want that responsibility. I want to walk with you hand in hand. You empowered, me empowered, living our lives that source us both, that create this powerful unification of two people living and acting out their purpose and their values. Robert and I got into this habit of, okay, today, because whenever we go to Santa Fe, because we're polar opposite, he'll be like, well, I want to do this. I'm like, I 100% don't want to do that today. No, but I really want to do that. I'm like, So we got to this point that today's your day. We'll do everything you want. Tomorrow's my day, and I get to do everything I want. And we get to do it together happily, because we both want each other to be hysterically happy. What do you say? And so we made a pact that that's what we do now. And it worked for us. May not work for everybody, but it certainly worked for us. so that no one's compromising.
It's a good strategy.
It is, because you get to look him in the eye at some point, Jan, and say, my needs and my desires are as important as yours are. You get what you want, I celebrate that. I get what I want, I expect you to celebrate it.
Yeah.
So buck up, buddy, buckle your seatbelt, because the ride is changing. If you lived in America, I would say, tell him that the ride you're going to give him is an e-ride, which is the best ride you can get at Disneyland.
Yeah.
And then that'll maybe kind of wake him up a bit.
Yeah.
Is Prate still on the call? Because I can only see 6 of us.
No, she had to go to a meeting.
Okay, no worries. Stan had to go too, I know.
Yes.
So let's give a word that we want to leave with each other. Did you guys get some value tonight, first of all?
Oh my gosh, yes.
All kinds of good stuff came out of my mouth, which I have no idea where it comes from. I really do not. I'm not that smart. Just good stuff comes out periodically, like I'm hurling, but it just kind of comes out, and sometimes it sounds smart. It's V's problem. She hit the button. And I started talking. Okay, so let's leave a word or a phrase that we want to leave with a group, so that we leave a part of ourselves for everybody else, and a word that we think about and commit to between now and the next time we see each other. So V, I'm going to go to you, darling.
Gentle power.
Oh, this is why I think women are so much more powerful than men, because they have that capability. Thank you. Linda.
Self-understanding.
Nice. Jan?
Be responsible and go
Awesome.
for look after myself.
Great. Thank you. Joe?
Feeling gratitude.
Sweet. Sweet. Darla, it was such a joy to have you on the call tonight. You added such a beautiful dimension to the energy on the call. So thank you. And Joe, you picked well. So Darla, do you have a word that you want to leave with the group?
Self-love,
Sweet.
begin within.
Great.
And Darla, your course is in the vault as well, isn't it? The art of self-love. Yeah. The art of
Nice.
learning self-love. Yes. So you're in good company, Gary, when we go in January.
That'll be great. We should all do something together someday.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome. My word is commitment, which for me, it's commitment to my own personal unfolding, and to be disciplined in that unfolding. Okay, gang, I really enjoyed tonight. I want to thank you all for your participation, and for whatever people needed to hear. I'm hoping that you heard something that you can use. And I always just pray that when I have the opportunity to speak to people, that something useful comes out of my mouth, because it doesn't always, but once in a great while it does. So
Once
I wanna
every
thank
week,
you all.
at least here, Gary.
Now you should hear me for the rest of the week, just babble. So, I want to thank you all. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.
God bless.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.